Okay, calm down.
We have two quick updates we wanted to share. One is that friend of show, she's actually been on the show before, Clare Daly, member of European Parliament, MEP from Ireland. She lost her seat, but to honor her, we wanted to play a few clips of her speaking in Parliament because she's so great. And of course, many times people who are on the right side of history, they lose their seats, but I know that whatever she does next, she'll do a great job. So let's take a look at some of these clips of Clare Daly.
Despite the catastrophic death toll it has inflicted, Israel is losing on the ground and in the court of public opinion. There's no way that this ends that doesn't leave Israel a pariah state with occupation and apartheid on borrowed time, and they know it. So they're doing everything they can. Desperate acts of aggression to provoke a wider conflict with Lebanon, with Iran, with anybody, to draw in the US, to save them from the consequences of their own actions. And as Yemen shows, Butcher Biden is reporting for duty. With Europe's Frau genocide by his side, they are the ones who have enabled the continuation of Israeli terror. Without them, it would already be over. So take note, Butcher Biden. The ancestors of the Ireland that you claim to be from disown you. Keep our country out of your mouth. And as for von der Leyen and genocidal Germany, with your words and deeds supporting Israel in the ICJ, not in our name. The people of Europe stand with Palestine and with South Africa. So far, the EU and US response to Israeli genocide has been straight from the abuser's handbook, Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender, and if that doesn't work, sure, just change the subject. So as the genocide in Gaza continues, you want to talk about everything but Gaza. You refuse to put the item on an agenda stacked with every cliché imaginable, from Venezuela to Iran, with pride of place given to the old reliable Russian interference. So across the pond, Special Agent Nancy Pelosi gives the signal, branding Palestine protesters as Kremlin operatives, and like clockwork, the dark insinuations begin in Europe. Everyone can see what you're doing. It's tedious, it's predictable. You've been doing it since 2016, and it isn't going to work anymore. The mass movement is focused like a laser on genocide. Everyone knows it's happening, and Europe is...
I'm sorry, this is a debate with a title, and so you should stick to the issue. Thank you.
Always a good sign when they have to cut off your mic.
President, I voted against this motion after a week of horror in Gaza and the EU diving in head first, draping our parliament in the Israeli flag, aiding and abetting in war crimes, including the bombing of a hospital, and still we find it impossible to say that Palestinian lives matter. We're still privileging one category of victims over another. We talk about the humanitarian situation in Gaza, but why is there a humanitarian crisis? Is it a natural disaster? Who cut off the water, fuel and electricity? Are we not sure? Who is bombing Palestinian civilians? Do we not know? Do you think we could mention it? There is a crime unfolding in Gaza now, such as we have not seen since the 1940s, and we are in it up to our necks. We're watching Israel murder Palestinian civilians and preparing to drive millions of them into the Sinai Desert to annex and colonise their land. It's another Nakba. It's a crime against humanity, not a humanitarian crisis. The EU will never live down this shame. Long live Palestine, long live Gaza.
We have a couple more clips.
Been involved in politics for 40 years, but I have never seen anything like what is being unleashed in Gaza, in full public view, while the world watches it unfold. 10 days of relentless airstrikes, 1 in 1,000 people murdered by the Israeli government in a week, open declarations of siege, 24 hours of fuel, electricity and water left, collective punishment on innocent people, all illegal, all war crimes. And when the EU should have been arguing for a ceasefire, for the upholding of international law, for the protection of civilians, Ursula von der Leyen touches down in Tel Aviv to photo op the preparation of a genocide and says Europe stands with Israel now and in the days to come. How dare she? She has no authority in foreign affairs matter. She does not speak for me, she does not speak for Ireland, and she does not speak for the citizens of Europe. We stand for peace, we stand for justice for the people of Palestine and for the upholding of international law. It's long past the time that this woman exited the stage. It's time for her to go and for the International Criminal Court to investigate her.
So the debate is closed.
Listening to the cheerleading in here, safe and secure, thousands of miles away from the front lines, I think it would be a useful exercise for us to remind ourselves about what ordinary Ukrainians are experiencing. The Economist reports of forced recruitment across the country. Draftees with no experience or training are being sent to the front in what a UK minister calls First World War levels of attrition. Casualty figures are secret, but we know they're estimates of about 120,000. Battalion commanders tell the Washington Post of recruits fleeing positions en masse. Politico reports a crackdown on deserters. These are human beings, and there is a shameful lack of empathy for ordinary people in the war rhetoric in here. The debate is about keeping the weapons flowing to keep the war going. Ukraine is burning through a generation of men, sons, husbands, brothers who can never be replaced. This cannot go on indefinitely. And ye sickening war generals who sit in here and will these men to our deaths, you make me sick. We need peace, we need dialogue, however unpleasant that may be.
And that was Clare Daly, who lost her seat in the European Parliament, who was smeared and attacked by the political establishment and by the media.
Clare, would you have a word with us? How are you
You've
feeling?
no interest in talking to me for 5 years, so I've no interest in talking to you.
The great thing is, I know that whatever she does next, she's going to kick ass. As you can tell, she's an incredibly inspiring person, politician, organizer. And if you want, you can watch our interview with her. We have another announcement, which is that most of you guys watching, I'm sure, know about this, but Brianna Joy Gray was fired at the Hill, and Amy Goodman reported on this. So let's show a clip of Amy Goodman because it's really important to show this story, but there's also a bonus treat at the end.
Media news. The Washington-based news outlet, The Hill, has fired Brianna Joy Gray, the co-host of Rising, The Hill's daily morning show. Gray's been a vocal critic of Israel's war on Gaza. Last year, The Hill also fired the political commentator Katie Halper after she called Israel an apartheid state.
Terrible that Brie got fired. Everyone should support her Patreon and her show at patreon.com/badface. Sometimes when you are on the right side of history, you get punished for it. But luckily, I'm sure Claire and Brie are going to be doing great things. Brie already has a show, so we know what she's doing next. And I'm excited for her to have more energy on to spend on her show. But I am thankful to Amy Goodman for featuring Bodhi.